Imagine this. A man stands in handcuffs inside a United States federal courtroom and looks at the judge and says, "I am still the president of Venezuela." This is not a movie scene. This is real. And this moment has shocked the entire world. The courtroom fell silent. Cameras clicked. Lawyers froze. Because the man speaking was not an ordinary prisoner. He was Nicolás Maduro, a leader who once ruled an entire nation. But today, there were no guards of honor, no presidential flags, only handcuffs, armed officers, and a U.S. judge listening carefully. After the hearing, Maduro was taken away, not to a palace, not to a private residence. He was transferred to Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn, a prison so feared that inmates call it hell on earth. As of today, reports say Nicolás Maduro has spent around 11 days inside this prison. Inside these walls, there are no presidents, no titles, no power. Every inmate lives by the same rules. And every day feels longer than the last. According to sources familiar with the jail, inmates at MDC Brooklyn receive basic prison meals, simple food, limited portions, no special treatment, no luxury. No choice. Just survival. For a man who once had chefs, security, and control, this change is not just physical, it is deeply painful. Experts say prison doesn't only punish the body, it attacks the mind. From giving orders, to waiting for instructions, from commanding millions, to staring at concrete walls. This is where the real pain begins. Nicolás Maduro still claims, "I am the president of Venezuela." But inside this jail, power has no meaning. And the world is now watching how a man who ruled a country is surviving life behind bars. Imagine this moment. A silent courtroom in the United States. No background music. No whispers. Only the cold sound of footsteps echoing on the floor. Cameras are ready. Journalists hold their breath. Armed guards stand still, their eyes fixed on one man. The door opens. A man walks in slowly. His hands are in handcuffs. This is not an ordinary criminal. This is not a drug dealer. This is not a gangster. This man once ruled an entire country. And as he stands in front of the judge, he looks up, takes a deep breath, and says words that shock the world. "I am still the president of Venezuela." For a second, time stops. Because in that single sentence, power, pride, pain, and fear will collide. Before this moment, before the courtroom, before the handcuffs, Nicolás Maduro was just another man trying to survive life. No palace. No luxury. No authority. He was born into a poor family in Venezuela, where life was never easy and opportunities were rare. To earn a living, he became a bus driver. Day after day, he drove through crowded streets, listening to people complain about hunger, about corruption, about broken promises, and slowly, those voices entered his mind. Politics didn't find him in a university. Politics found him on the streets, among workers. Among frustration, among anger. And inside him, something began to grow. He joined labor unions. He protested. He spoke loudly about injustice. People listened because he sounded like them, not educated. Not polished. But angry and emotional. That is when destiny brought him face to face with Hugo Chavez, a man who would change his life forever. Chavez was powerful. Charismatic. Fearless. And Maduro became his shadow. Always close, always loyal. Never questioning. He didn't shine. He waited. While Chavez dominated stages and headlines, Maduro watched quietly, learning how power works. Learning how words control crowds. Learning how loyalty is rewarded. And slowly, he was promoted. Minister. Diplomat. Foreign affairs. Each step took him closer to power. But he was never the leader. He was the follower. Until one day, the leader was gone. When Hugo Chavez died, Venezuela cried. People filled the streets, some in grief, some in fear. The nation was broken, confused, lost. And in that fragile moment, Maduro stepped forward. He promised continuity. He promised loyalty. He promised to protect Chavez's legacy. People wanted stability. So they believed him. Maduro became president. Barely. The victory was narrow. The country was divided. But as he stood before cheering supporters, one thing became clear. He now had power. Absolute power. And power changes people. At first, he spoke of equality, of socialism. Of justice for the poor. But reality was cruel. The economy Collapse. Inflation exploded. Money lost its value. People stood in endless lines for food, for medicine, for survival. Parents watched their children starve. Hospitals ran out of supplies. Millions fled the country, leaving behind homes, memories, and dreams. And still, Maduro stayed. Protests erupted. Voices rose. But instead of listening, the government responded with force. Opposition leaders were arrested. Demonstrations were crushed. Fear replaced hope. Supporters said he was protecting the nation. Critics said he was destroying it. The world began to watch. Sanctions followed. Condemnations increased. Some countries recognized him. Others refused. Maduro stood defiant. He said America was behind everything, that the world wanted to steal Venezuela's resources, that he was the victim of a global conspiracy. For years, he survived, but power has limits. And one day, those limits arrived. Quietly. Suddenly. No speech. No announcement. The man who once traveled with massive security was no longer untouchable. International legal actions moved fast. And then, the unthinkable happened. Maduro was taken into custody. No palace. No army, only guards and handcuffs. Inside the courtroom, he looked different. Smaller. Older. The confidence was still there, but the control was gone. When he said, "I am still the president," it was more than a claim. It was desperation. Because when power disappears, identity begins to collapse. Within minutes, the image spread across the world. A president in handcuffs. Some people celebrated. Some protested. Some questioned the legality, but no one ignored it. After the hearing, there was no applause, only procedure. Metal doors closed behind him. He was escorted into a prison transport vehicle. Cold. Silent. The destination was clear. Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn, New York. A prison known for darkness, harsh conditions, and a terrifying name. Hell on earth. Sources say this was the moment reality truly hit him. Not when he was arrested, not when he faced the judge, but when the vehicle doors slammed shut. No crowds. No speeches, only chains and silence. Once, he ruled Venezuela. Now, he was heading toward a cell. And what awaited him inside those prison walls will test him in ways power never did. Because authority prepares you for noise, but prison prepares you for silence. The vehicle finally stops. The doors open. Cold air hits his face. No cameras. No supporters. No enemies. Only concrete walls, steel gates, and silence. This is Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn, a place inmates whisper about, a place guards don't explain, a place people call hell on earth. As Nicolás Maduro steps inside, something breaks inside him. Not his body. His mind. Because, for the first time in decades, no one is listening to him. No one is waiting for his orders. Here, he is not a president. He is a number. The gates close behind him. One sound. Heavy. Final. That sound tells every new prisoner the same truth. You are alone. Now. The first night is the hardest. The cell is small. Cold. The lights are harsh and unforgiving. No soft bed. No privacy. No silence. Just metal, concrete, and echoes of other inmates shouting, crying, or praying. Maduro sits on the edge of the bed. He doesn't speak. He doesn't sleep. He stares at the wall. Outside these walls, he once controlled a nation. Inside this cell, he can't even control the light. Days pass. Slowly. Painfully. Every minute feels like an hour. Every hour feels like a lifetime. This is not punishment of the body. This is punishment of time. Reports say that as of now, Maduro has spent around 11 days inside this prison. 11 days that feel longer than 11 years of power. There is no special treatment. No presidential privilege. Meals arrive at fixed times. Basic food. Simple portions. Food you eat not because you want to, but because your body demands it. No choice. No comfort. For a man who once had chefs, this is humiliation. He eats quietly. Slowly. Surrounded by strangers. Some stare at him. Some don't care. In prison, your past doesn't matter, only your weakness. Those. The nights are worse. Sleep comes in fragments, interrupted by noise. By footsteps. By screams from other cells. Sometimes someone cries. Sometimes someone laughs uncontrollably. Maduro lies awake. His mind becomes his enemy. He remembers crowds cheering. He remembers speeches. He remembers the presidential palace. And then, he opens his eyes. Concrete, ceiling. Cold light. Bars. Reality returns like a punch to the chest. Isolation begins to take its toll. Experts say prison doesn't break people with violence. It breaks them with repetition. Same walls. Same routine. Same silence. Over and over and over again. Maduro begins to lose track of time. Days blend together. Morning feels like night. Night feels endless. The human mind was never designed for cages. From ordering ministers to waiting in line. From giving commands to following instructions. This is not just loss of freedom. This is loss of identity. Sometimes he whispers to himself. Sometimes he stays silent for hours, because when there is no one left to impress, you are forced to face yourself. The world outside continues moving. News channels debate, politicians argue, supporters call him a victim, critics call it justice. But inside this prison, none of that matters. Here, time does not care who you were. Time only cares how long you can endure. There are moments when he closes his eyes and imagines he is still in Venezuela, still powerful, still respected. But the illusion never lasts, because the sound of keys always brings him back. This is the cruelty of prison. It gives you hope, then crushes it. Mental pressure increases, loneliness grows heavier. Some nights, the silence is louder than screams. Psychologists say this is where people break. Not on day 1, not on day 5, but when they realize no one is coming to save them. Maduro still tells himself, I am the president, but in prison, words have no power. Every day inside MDC, Brooklyn feels like a test, not of strength, but of sanity. Once, he controlled millions. Now, he counts minutes. And the worst part, this is only the beginning. Because prison does not rush. It waits. The man who once stood on balconies now stands in silence. The man who once shouted slogans now whispers memories. Power left him, but pain stayed. And somewhere deep inside his mind, a question begins to form. Was it all worth it? The nights become longer now, not because time has slowed down, but because sleep has stopped coming. Nicolás Maduro lies on the narrow prison bed, his eyes open, staring at the ceiling. That never changes. No dreams, only memories. For the first time in his life, there is no one to blame. No opposition. No foreign enemy. No conspiracy. Just silence. And silence forces truth to speak. He remembers his childhood, the small house, the empty pockets, the bus he once drove through dusty streets. He remembers thinking, one day, I will never be powerless again. And now, powerless is exactly what he has become. Inside this prison, there are no mirrors, but the mind creates its own. And those mirrors are cruel. They show you every decision you ever made. Every order, every arrest. Every ignored cry. He remembers the crowds, the chants. The love, and then the fear. He remembers how love slowly turned into obedience, and obedience turned into silence. Sometimes, he closes his eyes and hears the voices of the people who left Venezuela, millions of them. Walking away from their homes, their families, their country. He wonders, did they curse his name? Did they cry because of him? Or did they simply forget him? For a man who once feared betrayal, this is the ultimate betrayal. Being forgotten. In prison, no one asks who you were. No one cares. Your name loses weight. Your title evaporates. You are reduced to a body and a mind that won't stop remembering. Maduro starts talking less, eating less. Time carves lines on his face. The guards notice it. This is what prison does. It doesn't attack loudly. It erodes quietly. Some nights, he whispers, I am still the president, but the words sound weaker now. Hollow. Like a lie repeated too many times. He realizes something painful. Being president was not who he was. It was what he had. And now, it is gone. Psychologists say this moment is called the collapse of identity, when a person loses the story they told themselves for years. Maduro's story was power. Without it, he is just a man, a lonely man. He thinks about apologies. About words he never said. About chances he never took. And then he understands something terrifying. Prison is not the punishment. Regret is, every day, the same routine. Wake up. Count time. Eat without taste. Sleep without rest. This is not life. This is waiting. Waiting for news. Waiting for Decisions. Waiting for a future that refuses to arrive. Outside, the world debates his fate. Inside, he debates his past. He imagines standing again before the people. But the crowd is silent. No cheers. Only eyes. Watching. Judging. Once he controlled narratives. Now he is trapped inside one. The prison walls do not answer questions. They only repeat them over and over and over again. Was it worth it? The power. The fear. The isolation of an entire nation. Was it worth ending up here? Alone, somewhere deep inside, a realization settles. History does not remember excuses. It remembers outcomes. Maduro once believed would die in power, that his name would be written as a survivor. Instead, it is being written as a warning. A warning about what happens when leaders stop listening, when power replaces empathy, when control replaces compassion. In this cell, there are no speeches left, only breathing. Slow. Heavy. He thinks about the judge, about that one sentence. I am still the president. And now he understands. He wasn't convincing the judge. He was convincing himself. Because accepting the truth is harder than prison. The truth that power is temporary. The truth that fear always returns. The truth that no title can protect you forever. In the end, every man meets the same silence, whether he ruled a country or drove a bus. The lights dim. Another night begins. No applause. No enemies, only a man and his thoughts. And somewhere in that darkness, a final realization echoes. Power can take everything from others, but prison takes everything from you. Long silence. This is not just the story of Nicolás Maduro. It is the story of power without limits. Of authority without accountability. Of a man who climbed to the top and discovered that the fall is always longer. Because history is cruel. It gives power loudly and takes it away quietly.